Okay, and we are live. Hi, everybody who is watching us tonight. My name is Karen Lynn. I'm a cosplayer from Israel, and with me today is Junkers Cosplay Inc. Hello.
Hi. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm pretty excited to be presenting to you guys. Thank you for having me on the show. Very honored.
So for everybody who's watching and don't know what this show is, this is Cosplay Talk. It's an initiative by the Israeli cosplay community, by the World Cosplay Summit team here in Israel in order to hopefully bring Israel in the future to World Cosplay Summit. And while we do that, we talk to a lot of international cosplayers because we can. So as I said, we have Junkers today with us. Introduce yourself.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Johnny. I'm out here in San Diego, California. I've been making props and costumes since 2011. I've had a lot of good opportunities. I've worked with BioWare, if you guys like Mass Effect. I worked with El Sword Online, Crunchyroll, Riot Games, and yeah, I think there's a couple more. I just recently won the Call to Cosplay TV show, and yeah, I'm very excited.
How did you get into cosplay? You said you started in 2011. How did you start it with this hobby?
Um, I kind of well, I my very first costume was in 2003, 2004, something like that, and I just saw in like the newspaper that like, hey, this is what cosplay is at Anime Expo. So I made my first costume, and then I had a really good time. And right after that, I went to into the military. So that's why I say I didn't really start cosplaying until 2011. So like I made my first costume in 2004. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then by the time I got out, I was like, oh, maybe I should pick up that hobby I tried out. So so
What
yeah,
was
that's how
your
I.
first cosplay?
It was from a Trigun. It was Wolfwood. I had a big cross gun thing. It was pretty silly. Looking back on it, it was pretty bad, but that's where we all start, right?
Yeah. And the first cosplay after you got back to the hobby.
I actually, yeah, right after I did that, I actually did another Trigun costume because it's like the only anime I pretty much knew at that point. I did Gazelle the Peacemaker. He was only an action figure, so it was like super obscure, but he had a 6 foot tall revolver. So it was just like, I don't know what that is, but it's really, really big. So let's go talk to that guy.
That sounds very interesting. So you basically always had a thing for props and big weapons.
Yeah, I really like making props and weapon because I can't sew at all. Like I don't know how. I probably never will learn how to. But yeah, it just making like three-dimensional objects like that comes a bit more intuitively than sewing together like pants.
So what got you to start this hobby? I mean, you said you saw it on the newspaper, but what like what was the thing that made you said like, oh my God, I have to do it too?
Uh, I started out and I just kind of said like, you know what? I think I can. I really like this show. I think I can make that. And then I made my first costume, and then you're just I think I was in high school when that happened, and it's like I'm just some like dopey high school kid with like braces I think at the time, and then you go to the convention, and then people are like treating you like frickin' Brad Pitt or something, and you feel like $1 million. So it's pretty cool. So then you start doing that, and I made a lot of friends. I think like 90% of my friends that I've made are from cosplay. So that's actually a big motivating factor.
Okay, and today, you did say you work a lot for companies. Um, how much work you do every year, and how many cosplays you actually make for yourself every year?
It really depends. I mean, Like it just jobs just kind of come in and come out. I don't really advertise it that way. They just kind of fall in. But I think I've only averaged like 4 or 5 costumes a year for myself, like real costumes. I mean, we sometimes buy stuff on Taobao just to mess around, so you can always add that. But I mean, like what I actually physically make for myself is probably like somewhere between 3 to 5 costumes a year.
And how long does it usually take you to make a costume or a prop that's a commission?
Um, Something like full body armor takes around like 2 to 3 weeks of work. So like I don't mean like, just kind of like pandering around in the shop. I mean like I'm there for 12 hours a day working for about 3 weeks to crank out something. But for props, it's a bit different because it depends on the complexity. Like some swords will take me about like a day or an afternoon, but then some stuff with more detail will take like 3 or 4 days. So it's not exactly a short process.
And in this entire process of armors and props, what's your favorite part?
um, what's my favorite part? It's hard to say because I really like painting. Like I really like once you get your piece and then you prime it and and you see it all coming together. It doesn't look like a hodgepodge of different materials. It starts to look uniform. So I really like painting, but the thing is that I'm actually like really bad at painting. So once I get the base coats down, it's kind of like all bets are off once I start bringing out the actual paint brushes. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship.
Ugh. And how long, you did say you're not really good at painting. How long is it, like the longest part of the process for you, or the
It's not so much.
hardest?
It's not so much like, yeah. I mean, for me, it's pretty hard to like conceptualize. Like I'm not very artistic, um, per se. So it's really hard for me to just kind of think of how to make things look pretty like that. So I can put down the base coats like, blacks or reds or just in large areas, but it's hard for me to weather on my own. It's not exactly long. It's just by the time that you get to the very end of the process of making uh, the finished piece, you're just so tired. You're just like, I just want this done. So it helps a lot when because right now I have someone to help me do the final painting stages where I can just like push it off to them and then just kind of like not mess it up.
And how did you basically learn all this material, all the materials you work with? You did say that you work in a shop, so how did you started working there? How did you learn different materials?
Um, how did I learn new materials? What actually happened was I I remember if you remember I was talking about making that 6 foot tall revolver, and actually I went to a convention with it, really small one, and this guy came up to me and he was like, "Hey man, how did you make that?" And I was like, "Oh, like like resin and bondo and wood," and it was just an amalgam of nonsense. And he introduced himself, and then we started talking, and then he actually not then, but he was trying to go up be a professional prop maker. His name's Kai. He So Kai just took me under his wing, and he showed me how to use PVC, and he showed me how to do some resin casting stuff. So yeah, I mean, I got a mentor essentially. I just got lucky. I got a mentor to show me how to make stuff, and so that's why I feel it's really important to get my techniques out onto my blog or my site or whatever. So for people that don't have that kind of person to like push them in the right direction, because I would have probably been making stuff really terribly still if he didn't come along.
Or you'd find the internet, and the internet is magic, as we all know.
I I just I
Okay.
find it hard to learn with that. It's so hard. For
Well,
me.
yeah, some people need actual seeing it with their own eyes, but eh. Somebody have already sent us a question, and he said, "I'm sorry if this was already asked, but I could not notice the ruby rose sit in the background." So, if we've already brought it up, please tell us about your work with Rooster Teeth, and you can also show us the majestic things that you made for them.
Yeah. I that was a pretty crazy project actually. Um, do you want me to tell the whole silly story? It's actually pretty funny, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Uh, I was like, God, what? I don't even know what I was doing, but I was just really drunk, like on like a Saturday night, just sitting at home. And then my friend Chloe texts me. She's like, "Hey, I need you to make this thing for me." I was like, "Sure, sure. It's no big deal." And she sends me what was then the preliminary design for a Weiss. And so I'm on my phone. I'm just like sure, that's like super easy. Whatever. I don't even know what that's from. Yeah, I'll make that for you. It doesn't even matter. And so I agreed to this thing, and I don't even know what this sword looks like. And it was actually like when I sobered up, I was like, that's actually kind of hard. Maybe I shouldn't have said yes. And so I make that piece for her, and I guess she was doing it like essentially for they were going to do a shoot for Monty, and so what happened was is they her and her friends were going to be the models for the San Diego Comic Con for their for Rooster Teeth's promotion of the series there. And so they saw that I made her sword, and they're like, "Well, do you want to make a Ruby's scythe?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, that's fine. That's fine. I'll do that." So I made Ruby's scythe, and but they only had Blake, Ruby, and Weiss, and they didn't have a Yang. And I was like, "Why don't you have a Yang?" And so I told them, I was like, hey, yeah, we're totally gonna we can make a Yang for you guys. We can totally make a Yang. If you want one, we can make one. And this is I think like 7 days before the convention. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, we could totally make it. Yeah, yeah, it'll be totally cool. And then they didn't reply for a couple days, so like 4 days before the convention or something. And then they're like, yeah, 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 make Yang. And then yeah, we made made Yang in 4 days. And I don't know, I just delivered it to Comic Con, and I had 10 days to do the whole thing. That was pretty,
The,
yeah.
the whole four pops.
I did Blake later. I like Blake personally. I think is the hardest one, and at that point in time, I didn't feel like I was good enough to make Blake yet. In that amount of time, but I did Blake later, so I did all four, and I have all the build logs up. But yeah, they I think Blake's sword is actually at Rooster Teeth HQ right now, or it was for a while. So that was pretty cool.
That is cool. Okay, so I do hope it answers your question, Yoni. And if we already talked about Rooster Teeth, what other experience did you had working for companies? For example, the stuff you made for them, or how did you get to work with them, and more stories like that, basically.
Yeah. One of like my earliest little forays into that was because I work very closely with Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll Cosplay Ambassador, I think, is my official title. But we we do a lot of stuff with them. We run a lot of panels, and their very first cosplay team that they put together was Attack on Titan. So we did Attack on Titan for them. We made the 3DMG, and then I was Aaron. I was an all right Aaron. But uh, we go we escorted the I think the producer of the show, and I give him the benefit of the doubt that it was lost in translation, but when the audience asked him, it's like, "Oh, so what do you think about the cosplayers that we have for you?" And then they say like, "Oh yeah, they're almost as good as the Japanese cosplayers." And I'm just sitting there like, I really hope that that's just a mistranslation because that's not particularly nice. But yeah. So I'm not gonna lie, that got me a little down. But the next year we actually did stuff for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with Crunchyroll, and I was like, man, like I gotta step it up, and I gotta just blow them out of the water. And so they were saying that like, you know, that they're kind of apprehensive to have a cosplayer represent their property because the some people just don't put in all the effort. But with the budget that we had, we actually hired a what do you call them? A Hollywood makeup artist to do
Oh.
Star Platinum. And so we painted our 6 foot like five friend like just blue and glorious. And when we showed up to the event with the producers, they were just like so blown away. They're like, "Oh my God, that's Star Platinum in real life!" Like they were just like they were going nuts over it, and I'm just like, that was a great feeling just to see the client's face. It's like they're very satisfied with the product. So yeah, you just have to
That's
go all out.
that's amazing. That's cool. So you usually do you get to do full characters or just props, or do you do both for clients, customers, whatever you do?
I do. Well, yeah. I've been doing full characters. Ruby, or well, I guess it's like half and half, I guess. But the Ruby project I obviously did just props, because I'm not a pretty little girl. Um, but for uh for Sword and for Crunchyroll, I did characters for them, and then for the other members in the group, I would help out with the props because not everyone has access to a shop, and in turn they'd help me with the stuff I can't do, which is like wigs and sewing. And now like I'm just getting kind of good at my own makeup. But yeah, cosplay is a team sport, so if you have friends that are good at one thing, you can help them with the other things you're not good at, which is probably a lot, like me.
Go team.
Yeah.
Okay, so far out of all the cosplays that you've done and out of all the projects that you've done, which one is your favorite?
Which one's the favorite? Oh man. Um,
Yeah, tough
I
one.
think I think the my favorite one probably right now is I made a new like folder that I just put out to my friends. It's just all of these series that I can't cosplay from. It's because they're all girls. They're all girls. I love like super moe stuff, even though I wear like big manly armor. And it's like we have to do all these moe waifus. So if anyone wants to do it, let's do it. And I actually got my friend JS Cosplay, I think is her name. But we did a Kame Got Killed together, and she came in the shop, and we made a Kame, and it was just like, it was so super satisfying to like make all of the stuff and just have like what I envisioned a Kame being in real life come out. So that was actually very fun, and that was a very new thing for me.
That's cool. So we did learn that you want to be a little schoolgirl.
Oh yeah, I'm
That's
pretty.
interesting.
No, I don't. I know I can't do it. I'm not pretty enough. But yeah,
Aww.
yeah. I yeah, it's pretty funny. But I try. I'll try one day. No, I won't. But I have
Oh
some
yeah,
other girls that
crossplay is a
wanna.
thing.
Yeah, I can't. My shoulders are too broad and my face is too manly.
Oh.
I did gender bend Pocahontas. That was my little foray
Mm.
into that, but that's about it. That's about as far as I'm willing to go.
Well, one day, Never say never.
Oh man, maybe
Or
yaoi.
say. Oh my God. Girls are gonna love it. Okay. Next topic. When you start a new project, how do you start? What is your process, basically, from start to finish?
Oh, actually, that's pretty funny because I only work on Sundays, and obviously, well, for me, it's Sunday here. I don't know what day it is for you guys.
Same
Um,
day, just 10
okay,
hours ahead.
okay, I thought it was Dateline, but whatever. But yeah, yeah, I'm gonna start a new project today. Um, and the very first thing is I get out cardstock, and then I'll draft out the patterns. I actually think I have a bunch of patterns out here. Yeah.
Do share.
I mean, these are all online and stuff, but like I drafted out patterns a while ago for like Garen. Um, I can't even remember what these are for exactly, but I draft out the patterns in cardstock, and then I just wear like this paper armor for a little while. I just kind of like tape it to myself, and then see if the proportions are good, and then from there I cut it into plastic and start heat forming it. But the most important part is laying down that proper pattern, because if your pattern is wrong, your costume's gonna be like really out of proportion or just really really weird looking. So yeah, that's where the majority of my time is spent. That's what I'll be doing today after I get out of here.
Yay, patterning.
Yeah.
Favorite part of life. So how did you start working with plastic? I do know you work a lot with PVC sheets and stuff like
Mhm.
that. It's not a material that's very commonly used in Israel, and it is a material that people should definitely start using because it's very, very cheap and it's very good. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. As I said, I got my start with when Kai took me under, and he just showed me how to work with it. Yeah, I learned about that during our BioWare project, and then um, I just really like it. I started experimenting more with it, and what's great about it is that it's durable. I mean, you can just knock it around and it'll be fine. Um, and you can cut it easily with a box cutter. I don't have a box cutter up here. I've been using it at the actual shop, but yeah, I
Exacto
got my
knife
stuff.
also works.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're the same thing. Well, yeah. I mean, I like using this for like more precise cuts, but it's not my go-to. Um, but yeah, I really like it. This is a piece that I worked on a while ago. The thing that's really interesting about PVC though is that vinyl sticks to it really well if you use super glue. So like this whole bracer is all PVC, and then I just glued a bunch of vinyl strips to it to make it look like a faux leather bracer. So it's pretty neat. Sorry, well,
That's
did I
cool.
even answer the question? It was just about how awesome PVC was.
No, that is good. That's a start for the question of how do you work with PVC? How do you
Oh
treat
right,
this?
right, right.
Pros, cons, stuff like that.
I'm all distracted now that I turned around because these are cast in PVC, my little waifus. But
Aw.
super distracted. But how you work with PVC? I actually have like an incomplete tutorial online on YouTube that I need to finish it. But what happens is you cut it with your knife, and then you'll use a heat gun to heat it up, and then you'll bend it very gradually in order to get your finished piece. From there, to get the most out of it, you'll need at the minimum a an orbital sander in order to bevel your edges. Because I don't know, you can't really see it on webcam, but you can like if you bevel like all the edges on here in Ruby Rose, they're not just I just cut them and then pasted them. I sanded them a little bit on the right here, like on the edge, in order to give it a little bit of a rounded appearance. and it makes it look a lot more professional once once it all adds up on the entire project. So yeah, at a minimum, get an orbital sander, a heat gun, and a knife. But for bonus points, for bonus points, you can get what is it? A belt sander. That's also really awesome, and then an angle grinder. But angle grinders are really dangerous. I almost lost a finger a couple months ago, or like a couple weeks ago rather, and still healing. But get an angle grinder and then
Ouch.
respect it when you use it. Respect that thing.
Do you think a Dremel is also a tool that can be used on PVC or something
Um,
you will avoid?
yeah, I mean, like, Vulpin Props is someone I look up to a lot, and he uses Dremels like crazy. He's actually burned through I think like 3 or 4 Dremels within his like the times frame that he's been working professionally. And but the thing is, I'm personally not that great with a Dremel, so I don't use it very often. I think I use it like once, like I've used it for maybe like a couple hours on every project just to do the really fine sanding and detail work. Like on Star Lord, I did a it had to look like all of his armor was pitted with like rocks and stuff. So I just went in with a Dremel with a sphere sanding stone. I don't know what it's called. It's a ball on a stick, and then it spins, and you you
Hmm.
Dremel in with the ball, and it gives pitting. It was pretty cool, but yeah, I'm not. I have like shaky hands from like I don't know, smoking or something. I don't even know. But I have really shaky hands, so I'm just like doing this and it's really imprecise. So I'm not good with it. But hopefully other people are. It is viable.
Before,
It is viable.
yeah, it's good. Dremel is
Yeah.
good if you don't have the shop to work with other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Um, Before you start working with PVC and plastic, or if there are other materials that you work with other than PVC and plastic, what are they?
Um what is it? I like PVC, obviously. The other thing that I work with a lot is wood. I I just love working with plywood because A, it's cheap. B, it's really stiff. Um, the what people don't realize is that if you make a really long sword out of PVC, it's not gonna be stiff. So like when you have those foamy Nerf swords, and you flail them around and they just bend all crazy like that. You need a if you make it out of PVC, it's really long. You need a wood spine in order to support it. So work a lot with woods. I'm piddling around now with metal now that our I'm getting qualified on our workshop's equipment. But yeah, right now it's really just plastic and wood. I don't really touch foam very often, even though a lot of my peers really like it and do amazing work. Um, but it's just not my thing. But I guess I don't work with a whole lot.
But what you do is actually quite good. Um, Now, okay, let's go to a whole different subject than materials and stuff. Um, Judging. You do judge sometimes contests. Experience like it is also connected to being guests at conventions, I assume. Tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about this experience. How is it like? What do you usually do there and all that stuff?
All right. I mean, a judge's typical day is you have some time before the actual masquerade, like usually 5 to 6 hours of just contestants coming in and showing their costumes, things like that. And what what we're really looking for typically is I don't think people explicitly advertise it, but personally, I would rather see something simple done flawlessly rather than something grand that done mediocre. So I mean, there's been a lot of times that I feel like it's very common among armor people, myself included. When I was starting out um, very early, you would feel like you were snubbed because you made like this really big armor and you physically take up a lot of space, and people on the convention floor are really like awed by it. But once you get, because in a cosplay judge is going to get right up on top of you, because if you can pass the 5 foot rule at a convention floor, you're good. You know, like convention goers will love it. But if you can't pass the like 3 inch rule at for a masquerade, then it's not going to be as awe-inspiring. So I've had to give a lot of awards to like really well sewn pieces. Even though I can't sew, I can defer to the other judges that are more specialized in sewing and be like, hey, that girl's stuff was really good. But what if you can get up on top of like an armor costume and like I can't see your seams, like I'm gonna fight for you and get you a really badass award. But yeah, it's there's a lot of there's I think the hardest thing about judging is that no matter what, you're gonna break someone's heart and that night, because I think we've all been there. You worked really super hard on your costume, and then you put on what you thought was an amazing show. You did your best, and then you don't get an award at all. And there's gonna be that person you think that beat you out, and it just sucks to be on the receiving end of that. And then because I've been on that receiving end, but having to put someone else through that, I'm just like, ah, oh, this hurts. I don't want to do this, but it's it's a thing. But that's my thought.
And other than judging the contests, what else do you do as a guest?
um, what else do I do as a guest? I usually do panels. I was actually just a guest last week, so it shouldn't be too hard to answer. I'm just like trying to think. I do panels on armor making and prop work, and then obviously do the judge thing, and then I usually go out and I interact with the guests or run a booth, or in other occasions I'll run like an anime panel for Crunchyroll while I'm sent out there. So yeah, it's pretty much run panels, have your booth, do the judge the cosplay contests are all pretty standard. And sometimes they'll have like intermixed events, like they'll have like a designated photo shoot time with you and guests and things like that. So that's pretty much the common part.
That's cool. And did you ever get to be at conventions outside the States as a guest?
Yeah, yeah, I've gone to a few countries. Mexico is like the one that I go to the most because they're I think they're like 20 miles south of where I'm at. So we drive there every now and then for conventions. I've been flown out, you know, to Canada, Barbados, uh, Colombia. We're talking about flying to some other countries this year, but not really quite sure because of my school right now. But yeah, I mean, seeing cosplayers around the world is like really, really cool because they're the culture, just the cosplay community culture out there is a lot different, and it's really cool to see all the differences. So that's really fun.
What are the differences that you got to experience when you were at conventions outside the States or even outside your own local area conventions? What are the big differences that you actually got to experience?
Yeah, the big differences. Like, yeah, I think the big one that people are talking about right now is East Coast photographers versus West Coast photographers in cosplay land. Right now, I guess a big movement on the East Coast because I'm on the West Coast, and a big thing out there is to charge for photo shoots. That's a pretty foreign thing just within the United States for the West Coast people. So that's pretty wild. It's pretty I think in whenever I go to Latin America, it's pretty interesting to see that there's a difference. They actually partition off. There's cosplayer and cosmaker. So you can enter your competitions as a cosplayer, and you don't necessarily have to make your costume. You just have to present the character really well, from my understanding. If you're judged as a cosmaker, you're judged on your craftsmanship. Is so they're actually really supportive of people that don't make their own costumes and just want to represent the character. So that I thought that was really awesome. And here in the states, it seems people really want you to make your own costume. They really want to see that you fabricated it on your own and things like that.
And what is your specific opinion on that? Like, are you in favor of one of the two?
I mean, I'm pretty ambivalent to it. I mean, I've done like half and half. Like, I spent like 3 weeks. Oh, so let's use this last or 2 weekends ago as an example. I went to Anime Los Angeles 2 weeks ago as Garen from League of Legends. I spent all this time making that armor, and then that night I had bought a you guys like Free, that anime with the swimming guys? Yeah, so I went on Taobao and I bought the some free pants, and we did a photo shoot out in the pool. So I mean, I did both and I enjoyed them both. I mean, I got different kinds of satisfaction from portraying the characters. So I mean, as long as you're cosplaying and having fun and making friends, I mean, that's all I care about.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good thing. Um, Now, when go back a little bit to the judging part, what if you're judging as in a craftsmanship, specifically, let's say for armors, is there a specific thing that you'll be looking for, or something that is like a must-have for you?
Yeah, for like so what I'm looking for when you're doing excuse me. What I'm looking for when you're doing props or armor is that, you're going to be looking for, if how do I describe this? You have to you have to have all of your space contained. And I know that's a very abstract thing, but let me explain it. Like, do I have an example? I just have waifus here forever. I don't have any like,
All the way.
yeah, yeah, all the waifus. But say you have like a your armor. You want to take up as much space as you can with the armor itself. So I see a lot of people between the knee and the thigh, they have this big gap, and they're not taking up that space with the armor. You don't have to take up that space with like hard armor, but you have to have an interesting bodysuit underneath to give it texture. So like the pieces I'm looking at is the elbow joint, the stomach, and the knees. Where how do you make your joints look really cool? And also the other really big thing is your the finish. Like that's really huge. I mean, you can. I don't care what you make it out of because PVC. I know almost nobody works with that. Warbler is super popular. Craft foam's really popular. Eva foam's really popular. But if it's smooth, if I can come up to it and it looks like just like glassy, you're gonna score a lot of points. But if it looks bumpy and weird and I can see the texture, that's gonna be like you got a little lazy and you didn't do the fine sanding and priming to get that done. So that's gonna knock you down. But yeah, that's what I'm
Okay.
looking for.
Okay, that's cool. I do hope that it helps people with their own costume. Um, Now, who are the people in the community or overall that you look up to, that inspire you in your process?
Oh my God. Can we like block them from ever seeing this? Oh God. I think probably I mean there's like I'm just like going through all the people that like I get awkward panda around. Um Probably well the first person I name is Lee Kovacs. She went by Pikmin Link for a long time. I saw her when I was cosplaying at Anime Expo for the very first time, and I was like, man, she's so awesome. And I remember specifically, it was like it sounds cheesy, but it was like a life changing moment. Like when I talked to her dad, and they made this like really amazing helix sword, and I still can't figure out how that thing was made. But I was like, hey, how did you make it? And he goes like, it's wood, right? You can make it do anything, right? And he's looking at me like he's not being a jerk. He like legitimately thought like it's simple. It's just you can make it literally do anything. I was like, wow, that is like to me that was pretty deep. I thought that was really cool. The other person that's actually had a very direct impact on how I'm cosplaying and how I make things actually Yaya. Um, Yaya, yeah, oddly enough, because she does like nothing but sewing. But I met her at a convention in Mexico, my very first convention as a guest, and ever since then, we've been friends, and she's been pushing me to like make crazier things, make bigger stuff. So she usually like she'll see like what project I'm working on. She's like, you need to make that even crazier. I was like, because Yaya told me to. Okay, I'll do it. I'll make the lights in Star Lord. All right. But yeah, she's really awesome. And yeah, and the two prop makers that I really love are Volpin props, obviously, but he's yeah, he's really amazing. But the one that I think that no one actually knows about and should give more recognition to is Blind Squirrel props. If you look him up, his stuff is like next level. Like it's beyond movie quality. It's crazy. So he just made a Thorin helmet, and I'm just like, what? Like you made that horse out of like dreams, and yeah, yeah. So if you could block them from this broadcast from ever seeing that and just letting me be embarrassed.
I'll
So
send a link to Yaya right when we
no,
will be
no,
done.
no.
Hmm. Okay. Um, Cosplay wise or work commission wise, what do you feel is next for you? How do you see yourself moving forward in this hobby of yours?
Um, yeah. I actually kind of don't know. I think I'm going to eventually move away from making stuff for myself at some point. I don't know when, but I think our friend Lionel, like he more or less just makes stuff for his friends. I think I'm gonna wind up doing that. Ever since I did the Akame thing, I was like, wow, that was surprisingly very satisfying to bring that character out. And I think at some point I'm just going to stop cosplaying on my like for myself and start making stuff for other people almost exclusively. So I'm probably going. I don't know. But then again, I like wearing these wigs and stuff. But I think I'm gonna move away from big professional projects and just start going back to just making my own stuff and stuff for friends.
And trolling everything, which is always good.
Yeah, I mean, if
Um,
a big job comes around, I'll do it, but I don't know. We'll see.
do you have a dream cosplay?
Kind of, not really. I mean, I don't know anymore because I can only think of costumes one or two projects ahead because I don't know if I know myself enough that if I think about making a costume more than 4 months in advance or so, by the time it rolls around to actually make it, I'm not excited to make it anymore. Like I found a new cool thing to make, so I try not to plan too far ahead. So yeah,
Don't you have this costume where you're like looking at it and all you can think of is, I just want to do it, but I can't?
not. I hate to say it, but I'm just like not really. Like I just want to. I literally just don't plan that far ahead because I know if I think about it, it just won't be cool by the time I get around to it. I legitimately don't plan that far ahead. I just get blinders. I don't look to the left or right.
Uh, if more cosplayers were more like you, we will all have much more money right now. But no,
I wouldn't go
cosplayers.
that far. No, I mean the project I do work on is a lot of money. No, I'm constantly cranking stuff out. I just don't plan them. It's just I'm at the end of this project. Let's make something new. Let's make another thing. I don't know. It's silly.
Um, do you have something that you feel cosplay wise that you'll never do?
That I'll never do. Yeah, I'll probably never sew. I'll probably never sew anything. Like, um, I did it in eighth grade or something, and for like home economics, and I just did it, and I'm just like, I don't understand this. Like why? It doesn't make sense. Like I can't see. I didn't. I was amazed when it came together, and I was provided the pattern, and it came together. I was like, so this is how you make a shirt? I couldn't conceptualize it in my head until it was completely done. I was just shocked that like indeed what the teacher said that it was gonna be, it was it. I don't know. It and cutting fabric so horrible. How do people do that? Like I'm like want to cut a straight line and I'm like, why do you keep moving? Why do you keep stop? So
One day
yeah,
somebody
I'll
will
probably
throw a
never.
sewing machine at you and you'll have nothing else to do but to learn how to sew.
Oh man, my girlfriend got super mad when I couldn't cut this fabric, so I put it on the bandsaw so I could cut it in a straight line. And she was like the one that's all messed up on the edges. I'm like, yeah, well I wanted a straight line, so I put it on a saw. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty bad.
prop maker, prop maker problems. I mean, gee.
I
Um, what was your hardest project yet?
What was my hardest project? I I guess like conceptually is probably guts because I had to I went a little too overboard. I actually wrote a program to calculate a bunch of numbers that I needed for it. It was just the geometry was really weird. I had to make a bunch of like I don't even know what they're called. They're essentially prisms on his shoulders and chest and things like that, and it was just a big pain. The other thing that was Garen, it was supposed to be a super easy project, but he had trim on him, and then he had trim on the trim, and then the trim that was on the trim had etching work, and I was just like, the shapes aren't hard, but there's just so much trim on this, and I'm just like, oh, I want to kill myself. Why did I do this? But
Trim on the trim. That's new.
yeah, like if you see this, there's already this trim here. He had trim on the trim, and I'm just like, why? Stop, stop.
Because Riot, that's why.
Because Riot, why? Rito, why? Rito, please.
Okay, now before we're gonna get to the end of this interview, do you have any tips, any advices, anything for beginners, somebody who's starting out either in cosplay or specifically in armor and props?
Um, I I think the biggest advice I can give to someone is set aside a legitimate month of work. And I'm not talking like your convention is June 1st and I'm gonna start on May 1st. Those are a month apart, right? I'm bad at months, but
Yeah,
if you want to start that costume, you need like 30 days that you're able to work. So I only work on Sundays during the school year, so I have to set aside a long time. So it may be only, I only need 2 weeks to make something, but I actually need 14 weeks because I only work one day a week to make something. So I didn't take that advice when I first started. Always set aside enough time because if time is the most precious material and resource for any costume, every cosplayer knows that horrifying feeling at 3 a.m. the day before the con. Oh my God, we're just gonna hot glue this together because I don't care anymore. So imagine if they had another week, that the overall product would have been way better. So if you plan ahead, which obviously apparently I don't do because I don't plan my costumes that far ahead. I can't think more than one costume out. But if you actually plan ahead your timeline and what you have to get done, you'll be in a much better shape. That's more important than any tools, any materials, any techniques you're using. Is just you have to plan out your time accordingly for research and anything. And in order to plan for the plan to not go according to plan. You're gonna screw up. Something's gonna go bad. You need a contingency. You need to set aside like 5 days of like, this is my screw up time. This is the time where I just like sit around and be mad that I screwed up. So yeah.
Oh wow, everybody should have a time frame when they sit aside and be mad at stuff. This is very important advice.
Yeah. I mean, we've all had that where you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm just gonna attach this to this, and then when you finally attach it, like in your brain, you're just like this should have worked. This should have worked. And then you're just going, oh my God, these are all messed up. I'm gonna have to backpedal 5 hours back and redo this. So it's good to have that contingency time. That's
I
yeah.
absolutely understand. Now, is there anything else that you want to mention or to say or something, something?
Uh, I guess don't be a jerk in cosplay land. I mean, it's pretty simple, but I feel like sometimes people don't really take it to heart. But I've noticing the cosplay community, for the most part, all the cosplayers are really, really supportive of each other, and it's really awesome. And people are always very happy to help and things like that. But there's always like a few like really crummy people that are gonna like try and put you down or like make you feel bad that you're wearing a costume. You're like, oh, you're too fat, you're too dark, you're too ugly, or whatever. Don't let those people get you down because I mean, first of all they're doing it sounds dopey, but all they're doing it is because, they're just jerks and they don't matter. I don't know. I just don't let the haters get to you because there's only for every 100 awesome people you meet, you're probably only going to meet only like one really crummy person. So don't ever let that kind of stuff get you down and always keep cosplaying because you want to. And I mean, it's a great hobby, and you'll have lots of friends. I mean, I've made so many friends through this, and for I think I've been around for since 2011, and I think I can count the really like crummy people that I've met on my one hand. I mean, and I've met like thousands of really awesome people and really talented artists. So I mean, it's just amazing, and just don't let that one guy crap on your parade.
Haters gonna hate.
The
Anyway, Johnny,
hater.
thank you so much for hate is gonna hate. So yeah, Johnny, thank you so much for being with us tonight. It
Mhm.
was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank
And
you
thank you
very
for
much for having me.
everybody who is yes, and thank you for everybody who is watching us. And next week we're gonna be here on Sunday on the same time, which is 10 p.m. Israel time, and we're gonna have Michelle de Ontario. I cannot pronounce her cosplay name for my
I
life,
can't I can't
but
either.
we're gonna have her. It's like not. I don't know, but we are going to talk with her. So stay tuned and have a great night. Bye bye.